What's going on, everybody? Tony here, coming at you with another Tony Talks. Now, it's been a while since I've actually done one of these, but I posed the question on my previous video if you guys wanted to see them return, and a lot of people said yes, so I figured, hey, this is a good time. We've had a lot of gameplay recently released by some of the For Honor YouTubers who got access to release both Shaolin and Tiandi gameplay from the technical test and all of that stuff for the Breach game mode with those two characters. Now, myself, I did not receive permission to post gameplay of the new characters. Not saying that I got into the technical test. So I've already seen a lot of people calling these characters OP. I see a lot of people being like, Shaolin will be OP. A lot of people saying Shaolin will be OP. They thought, and then they thought, oh wow, but Tiandi is also going to be OP. Or just, hey, Tiandi is going to be OP. One thing I have to say about this is that this is a technical test. This is not the initial release of the characters. This is the kind of first iteration to let the public see some stuff, and this most likely will not be the final version of the character you see. Obviously, it is going to be very similar, but there will be tweaks and adjustments made before they're actually released. So everything I also say in this video is just opinionated. Obviously, you can't even really give too much of an input without having them be launched to the general public, and then being able to see kind of how the characters play and how they are affected there. So the big question is, are these characters going to be OP? I mean, I have watched a lot of the technical test server gameplay from a bunch of different YouTubers, and I've come to a startling opinion that probably neither of these will be OP. They might seem strong for like the first week, but that's literally any other character that's ever been in the game. People thought Aramusha was insanely strong on the first week, and then they're like, oh wait, Aramusha is actually garbage. Or people thought Old Highlander was strong, and then they're like, wait, he is also actually garbage. This was before the changes, obviously. So I mean, it's literally, you just have to get used to playing them. When you lose your first game against, you know, a Shaolin, a Tiandi, don't be crying out saying for a nerf. They've been in the game maybe like one day. You see so many of those posts every single season about people just lashing out for a nerf before you actually kind of learn the character and learn how to counter them. So I figured in this video I am going to go over both my strengths and weaknesses, kind of what I think maybe could be fixed for both the Tiandi and the Shaolin, and kind of give my opinions as to why they will not be quote-unquote OP, even though it's a very loosely used term here. So we'll start off with the Tiandi. Now, I think the Tiandi, upon initial release, will seem stronger than the Shaolin, and that is because he is a Vanguard character. Now, Vanguard characters, by nature, are pretty simple movesets, and they're pretty easy to learn. Therefore, it's going to be not too hard for a lot of people to pick up this character's playstyle and, you know, play him. I mean, that's just the nature of it. That's kind of why I played Kensei to begin. I was like, oh, this is a pretty easy moveset to learn, and he was also cool looking. So I was like, hey, why not? Vanguards just have limited movesets, but they usually rely on some sort of mix-up potential on there, and that is the case here with Tiandi. I think that Tiandi has great mix-up potential, especially with his little dashing, like, dragon strike things where he can do little ballerina twirls to the right and or left, and then keep dashing in order to cancel those and mix you up. Also has a lot of mix-ups with his kick as well as his palm strike, and we'll get into a little bit of that in a little bit later. But another one of the strengths besides the mix-up potential of Tiandi is he has very fast follow-up lights. So like after like a heavy or like a dodge attack, or you know, like even like the dodge lights, the next light that comes out is really freaking fast, and it's like almost confirmed. So if you throw like a heavy and potentially your enemy blocks it, it looks like that follow-up heavy or that follow-up light is extremely fast, and a lot of the times pretty hard to block. So that is at least one of the things that I've been seeing people use on the technical test, and it looks to be working very well. Another thing that is really strong with the Tiandi is its zone attack. Now the zone attack can both be feinted and actually like hard feinted and soft feinted kind of. So you can actually feint the zone normally after its first hit, which the first hit is also quite quick. Or you can actually like do the first input of the zone and then input something like the Dragon Palm Strike, and so you get the first hit of the zone and then do a Dragon Palm Strike after it, which confirms a light, and you can move into mix-ups like that. I think this might be something that might kind of be abused by people just because of how fast the actual zone first hit is. Now that's something that I think maybe could be tweaked in the future. That's just from my experiences of seeing these games and people playing Tiandi. And probably the other thing that I think Tiandi is really good at is reaction play. That being somewhat similar to Kensei. You know, Kensei is pretty good at reactions. That way, if you have an attack coming through, Kensei can swift strike out of it. Kind of the same goes for Tiandi that way. So say someone throws an attack, you dodge it, maybe to the right, and do the dodge light attack. One, that is undodgeable, so the person can't, you know, like dodge out of it if they fainted or something and tried to have a reaction or something that was crazy. And then you get the follow-up light on there, and I believe those lights combined do, you know, like 15 and 14 damage a piece or something, so it's close to 30 damage. Might be a little less, I'm not 100% sure, but you can get pretty good reactive play off with Tiandi. It's pretty good counter-attacking things in here, and I think that you know, kind of being able to dodge out of the way of your opponent's attacks and create your own mix-ups is going to be something that's pretty strong for the Tiandi. Now, although there are strengths, there is, you know, some weaknesses that I found watching some of the gameplay. One, the heavies are super slow and can be interrupted pretty dang easily. The normal heavies, that is, you know, not his little spinny spin heavies. Yeah, the heavies are quite slow, and as I said, the time it takes to like feint them too is really slow. It kind of seems to be like the type of style of like Kensei's top heavy startup and the speed in which that goes through. So that can be a challenge if someone's trying to throw heavies through. Then you can interrupt them with lights. You know, obviously there is a dash forward heavy that has a hyper armor property on that, which will be decent in case someone tries to trade with you. But you know, a lot of these attacks, you know, the enemy literally just has to block. There's no unblockable attack that actually comes through from the Tiandi. You know, there are some confirmed attacks from the Dragon Palm Strike, and, you know, like the light follow-ups are really quick, but there's no actual unblockable attack. So I think, honestly, the best way to deal with the Tiandi at first is going to literally be just to block the attacks. Because you don't want to be caught in a little ballerina twisty-doo, you know, mix-up of the Tiandi, and end up trying to parrying those attacks when they just keep, you know, soft feinting them with the dodge or feinting and guard breaking you. You're gonna have a bad time. But literally, all you really have to do is block the attacks, because you have no like real threat of a unblockable attack coming through. You will have to dodge things such as the palm strike and the kick. Once you actually learn the mix-ups, I think that Tiandi will be much easier to deal with. And in addition to this, he also uses a lot of stamina for his mix-ups. I'm pretty sure if you try to do the little dash heavies to the side, pretty sure you can cancel it twice. So you can do your first one, then cancel it 2 more times before you run out of stamina. So if you try to be Mr. you know, ice skating, figure skating champion and do a bunch of pirouettes and shit, you're going to be out of stamina, and then it's going to be a bad time for you. So don't do that. One thing that I think could be fixed with the Tiandi is, so Tiandi has a superior block like deflect. You dash in the direction of the attack and you hit the light attack button, and you get pretty much like a nice little damaged light attack there. I don't think he needs that. Does he really need that? Probably not. You know, honestly, I feel like that's just something they randomly were like, hey, should we get this guy's superior block? Yeah, why not? And it feels like if he just had his other kit, he's fine. He still has ways to open people up through the Dragon Palm Strike, you know, at least to try to break people if they turtle. So that's still good. I'd honestly would probably remove that aspect. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think that would be something to consider. I think probably the overall grade I would give it Tiandi. It might seem higher upon initial release, but I think once everybody starts to figure out the character, I think we're going to see Tiandi being a high B tier, potentially maybe in the A, but I'm thinking it's going to be high B. Obviously we can't say yet, At least for duels, that is. I'm not going to be basing this off of 4v4 play. So yeah, that's what I think for that. For the Shaolin, now the Shaolin is quite an interesting character. Now, the one thing, when you see Shaolin gameplay, what you should be thinking is options, options, options. Holy crap. This man has got, you know, it seems like he's got every character's moveset in his damn pocket, throwing it out here. He looks like, you know, you got shades of Nobushi, Valkyrie, Highlander in this character, as well as Berserker and stuff. It just seems like they're like, let's throw all the characters in a hat, you know, mush them up, make it a dude with no hair, and we'll call it good. But in addition to this, kind of going on to that, those strengths and whatnot, I think the Shaolin has pretty good stamina management for the types of attacks. The key stance doesn't really take too much stamina, and you can kind of go into a lot of options with that don't really take too much stamina, at least from the stuff that I was seeing. Unless you're, you know, kind of spamming like zones and whatnot, you don't go out of stamina very quickly, so that seems pretty decent for that character. The mix-ups through key stance are pretty crazy. You know, there's a kick, there's like an unblockable heavy, there's a, you know, like a light attack that you can do with like a dodge heavy. A lot of the mix-ups you can do in that stance right there are really strong. Another thing with the Shaolin, you know, going into like key stances, you know, when you hit like a light attack or a heavy attack, you hold that button to get into the stance. If you actually hit a light attack, you can hit the light attack button 2 more times and get pretty much like a triple light attack on somebody just from confirming one single light. Now, it doesn't do like, you know, monumental damage, but it still does pretty decent damage. And, you know, if you only hit it twice, you can hold it and then go into key stance from there. That's kind of where this next kind of strength goes into play. Technically, Shaolin has an infinite. Now, I'm not talking about the light heavy attack. It actually has an infinite with its key stance, which I found out from Splice's guide. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's pretty good. So basically, from key stance, you can do a kick, sweep into, I think it's, I don't know if it did like a heavy, and then you can double light again, then go into key stance and then do the kick, and then kind of do that over and over. This is, you know, an infinite basically, where you can just keep doing the same combo over and over again. But there's so many different options that could be coming out. You're not always probably going to be getting hit with that kick. You know, maybe someone does the kick sweep first time and then goes for the top unblockable on that. And that's a strength too. You know, you kind of have to have your parry game up, looking for different things, have your reactions good, because you don't know if you're going to get kicked, swept, an unblockable attack is going to come through. So you definitely need to have better reactions against a Shaolin. And I think that's a strength for them, definitely. Now, when looking at the Shaolin, the weaknesses that I really found with the character is, you know, doesn't have much health. You know, it's kind of around, it's a little bit more health than like a shinobi, kind of on that, you know, assassin's level health, which is obviously a disadvantage, excuse me, for being on the battlefield, especially in 4v4s. If you get hit from a heavy from like multiple different directions, that's going to be, you know, you're going to be taking tons and tons of damage and getting low pretty quickly. But another kind of funny thing I found, excuse me, Jesus Christ, with the Shaolin, is that there's no actual reliable initiation from neutral. And what I mean by that, like Tiandi from neutral, you can do the Dragon Palm Strike and you know, kind of open people up. The way that Shaolin can open people up is they kind of have to be in there, they kind of have to attack first. You know, they need some sort of like confirmed attack, or you kind of have to whiff your attack and then go into key stance before actually trying to do mix-ups. That I can see as being a weakness, especially if, you know, somebody, you know, dodges back a lot or kind of turtles. That can be kind of difficult because there is no reliable initiation, and you can kind of play a more reactive play style to the Shaolin. And that's another thing I was watching. I was watching Spliced play against Zero Kryak. Spliced was on the Shaolin and Kryak was on the Tiandi, and I think that the Tiandi, as I mentioned before, has, you know, a reactionary playstyle, and he basically was reacting to everything Spliced throughout, and was able to, you know, dodge, you know, get away from the attacks, and, you know, kind of exploit the Shaolin for not having, you know, super reliable initiation and trying to have to throw out potentially unsafe attacks to kind of start up some sort of chain or combo string. And I think that's the area where Shaolin falters. But having said this, I actually think Shaolin will end up being pretty balanced as well. I think that Shaolin's going to have a pretty damn good time in 4v4. It's got some pretty nice feats, and I think the crowd control that he can have in fights will be pretty decent as well. You know, overall grade of the Shaolin, I don't think it'll be S tier, but I think it'll probably be an A. You know, a lot of these new characters, it's kind of hard to place them anything lower than B, just because of how much more options they have versus the old characters, I should say. You know, you put this moveset up against, you know, something like Shigoki or Warlord or, you know, kind of Warden, who have very limited movesets, and you just see literally they just have 3 times as many options. It makes it more difficult for you. So it's pretty likely that these characters are going to be just higher just from more options that they have. But having said this, I don't think in particular any of these characters are going to be quote-unquote OP. I think the OP term is used way too frequently in the community, and I think that, you know, just take your time to learn the matchups against these characters and you'll be doing fine. You know, play them yourself, or just, you know, play against a friend trying to figure out types of combos, how to react to different things, and eventually you'll be fine. You know, it might be a struggle at first. I know I definitely had struggles against some of the new characters when they first came out, thinking that they were impossible to play against. Like I'll say Shaman. I thought Shaman was literally broken as hell, and I know a lot of people still say Shaman is broken as hell. But honestly, once you kind of figure out the playstyle, what people kind of tend to do, you can kind of mold your playstyle in a way that kind of counters that, in trying to, you know, trying to beat it in that way. You know, some characters do have more in their kit than other characters. That's just inherent. But once you kind of learn the matchups and, you know, kind of feel out the characters for more than like a day or two, I think you guys will be pretty okay with these characters. They seem fun. I'm not going to say they are fun because they're watching, but yeah, no, I mean, I think both characters will do just fine in both 4v4 and 1v1 modes. I think the Shaolin is going to be a character that will get better with time. I think it takes more time to master the Shaolin from how advanced its moveset is, and a really good player, in the hands of a really good player with a lot of time, it's going to be a absolute monster to go against, and I would not want to face up against it on the battlefield. I think you'll be seeing a lot of Tiandis up first because the moveset I said is going to be a little bit easier to learn, but I just think both characters look good, both characters look fun. I'm looking forward to see the new 2 characters there, and hopefully we just continue to get reworks from the original lot of characters to where they can be kind of up to par with these guys. So that's gonna call it for this video, guys. I did talk for quite some time, almost 18.5 minutes. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. You can also support me on Patreon if you want, in the description below. Also join the Discord to stay up to date with videos and streams, to find out when I go live or when a video is posted. Now, as always, guys, my name is Tony. I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.